Has this ever happened to you? You're an upcoming indie filmmaker with a cool idea for a new movie. You write the scripts, draw the storyboards, hire the talent, and you soon start to think about the locations. So you go location scouting. Your eye is set on a potential spot. You feel as though your dreams are coming true, only to be let down due to the permits, legal rights, and the sting in your tongue that you didn't expect. A huge fine. So you head back home feeling lost and hopeless. Like a slow death, you pull the plug on what could have been an amazing and inspiring project. Locations, sets, and everything in between are what builds your film's world. They create an atmosphere that leads the viewers into believing that this world has been lived in within the context of the characters. But what if your script is set in the Sahara Desert with cacti sprawled across the land, or a space station perched on Mars? Well, what if I told you that this is all possible thanks to a 3D software called Blender? Blender is a 3D modeling software that allows its users to create animations, environments, models, textures, among many other features. In our case, we'll be using this software to import an environment from a huge catalogue through Sketchfab. Sketchfab is a plugin that you will need to download from the official website. The link will be down in the description. Firstly, you want to open up Blender. For this to work, you'll need to double check that you've ticked the box for the Sketchfab add-on. In a new project, delete the square and open up the toolbar on the right. Go on to Sketchfab and click Activate Add-on. For this example, I'll be generating a garden. Go to the search field and type garden. You'll get hundreds of different types of garden models. To import, simply click Import Model. Depending on the size of your model, you may want to zoom out and move the light source above the model and select Sun. If the light is too powerful, just decrease the strength. You can easily divide the strength by using the dash symbol. Now you can actually see the model you've imported. Next, you'll want to apply a HDRI. This will affect the lighting and the dynamic range of your image. Next, choose a spot that you like. I like this pretty picnic area, it looks quite nice. I recommend playing with some angles so you can grasp an idea of where to set the camera's position. This will help when you're shooting the green screen footage. To align the camera, click View, then Align View, then Align Active Camera to View. This will move the camera's position to your view. If you want to make minor adjustments, you can lock the camera to the view by clicking Camera to View. With a basic idea of the angle of your shot, you can now film your green screen footage using Blender as a reference. To key map this footage, I'll be using Premiere Pro's Ultra Key effect, adjusting the highlights and shadows for a clean map. Before exporting your video to Media Encoder, you will have to change some settings. First, change the format to QuickTime. Now scroll down this window until you see 8 BPM plus alpha and select it. This will make sure that your video is exported with a transparent background. With your video now mapped out, it's time to import this video into Blender. This is done by holding Shift and A, then you scroll down to a window until you see Images and then Images as Planes. This will import your video into Blender. Move the plane into position, resizing for an accurate scale. But now you're probably wondering how you can record the scene with the camera. It's really quite simple. The camera works as a real camera with settings to adjust the focal length and the depth of field. In our case, we want our camera to dolly in on the scene moving forward, thus requiring some form of animation from the start and end point. Firstly, you'll be wanting to position the camera to the starting position. Once positioned and with the camera selected, go to Transform and click on the keyframes for the X, Y and Z axes. This is because the movement is affecting all of the axes. With the keyframes made for the starting position, move the timeline forward. Then moving the camera to the end position, selecting the 3 keyframes. You now have successful camera movement. Now it's a great time to decide how many frames you should have in your scene. Blender works like traditional animation, which means you need to be aware of the frames per second in your video. The video I shot was in 29.97 frames per second, which means if I needed 5 seconds of animation, that roughly counts up to about 150 frames. Go to Output and then Format and select the frame rate of your choosing. Within the timeline, you can choose how long your video will be based on frames start and end point. Once you're satisfied with everything and you've made all the changes you need, now it's time to render the animation. Click on Output and you'll see when you scroll down that there's a drop down window for File Format. click on File Format and select Open EXR. Give the file a name and destination, then go to the top of the window underneath Render and click Render Animation. This will render the scene as separate EXR files, which you will need later on. Once Blender has rendered all of your frames, open a new Blender project and select Video Editing. Then press Add Image Sequence. Then select all of the EXR files, then clicking Add Image Strip. For some reason, the video playback will be backwards, so if you go to Video, select Reverse. Blender has now compiled all of the frames into a moving image. All that we need to do is render once more, making sure that you select the right frame rate for the video in the output settings. The file format for this final export must be made to FFmpeg video. Give the file another name and file destination, then click Render, then Render Animation. You should now have an exported video of your whole animation. And that's how you can use Blender to create sets for your films. I hope this video is helpful to those that are struggling to find a set or a location. Or if you simply want to experiment with its features, trust me, they're boundless. I highly recommend learning the fundamentals, since you never know when something like this could come in handy. Thank you everyone for attending the class today. It's been an absolute honour. I hope you've learned something valuable in your filmmaking careers. I hope you come again soon. And you too.